balance and production? Is that more kind of what you're hoping for in this type of game that we played against Dallas?
I hope for whatever wins. We always we look at balance really as keeping the defense off balance. There's times that winds up being fairly close run pass splits. There's times that winds up being a lot of passes. We've gone into games. I think we had a few games this year. We ran the ball less than 15 times. If that's our mindset going into it. So that really is for us our mindset every game. And then beyond that, it's really a function of how do we stay on schedule. We've talked about it a lot. We've had more third and longs than anyone else in the NFL. When we start going backwards in the NFL, life gets really hard. And when we stay on schedule, when we're ahead of the sticks, we play good football. And we were able to do that last week.
How big of a challenge is the interior offensive line have in front of them with the opposing interior D-line?
Yeah, I mean, they're really good. I mean, their front five is probably for us, I would say, in totality, the best we faced this year. Obviously, Simmons is a heck of a player. He shows up all over the place. He does everything, rushes inside, rushes outside. They have him drop sometimes, and he's still a factor even when he's dropping. You always have to be aware of where Simmons is. Sweat's been doing a really good job for him. He jumps off the tape on the inside. He's a really, really big, strong man, hard to move, makes a lot of plays in the backfield. Their edges are solid. Landry is obviously a really good rusher, good in the run game. Arden Key I've been with in San Fran, obviously familiar with him. He can go play. And Joseph is still, a really solid interior player. They got people at every position. So that's a big challenge for us to be aware of in really both phases. And the starting point of everything we talk about as far as game plan this week.
You mentioned not being in third and long a lot. You all didn't have a lot of negative plays. What would you say was probably the difference that allowed you all to kind of stay out of those situations?
I think it's always never just one thing. It's a lot of things. But I would say what jumped out the most is by and large we played clean football. We didn't have many penalties. We didn't have many mental mistakes, and the few we did, as far as mental mistakes goes, particularly we're in the pass game, and CJ saved the down. He made an incompletion the worst that the play could be, which is what you want your quarterback to do. But outside of those, we played really clean football, and we were convicted in what we were doing. We were aggressive. We were decisive, which is what we preach and what we want all the way across the board, and I think it showed.
What's this current offensive line formation been able to do for you guys over the couple of weeks that you maybe weren't getting before, and how have you thought they progressed the couple weeks?
Yeah, I'd say any group of five you have up front always is different. Guys have different strengths in different areas that you play to in both phases. I would say Juice having a lot of football under his belt, in particular at center, and then moving out to guard, really has enabled him to have a ton of command and awareness of what's going on, because he was running the show not too long ago, and now he's just as aware of all the different looks and things that could happen, but now he's at a position that doesn't necessarily need to make the calls, so he's just able to take in more, which has been really cool to see. Now there's been a process going from guard from center. It's different still. Some of the ways he has to approach the run game, the pass game, and the sets is a little different. He's done a really good job growing from the first week there to the second week there, and we'll just work to continue that. And then JP has absolutely owned all the controllables, everything you could ask for as far as a center goes. He's knocked it out of the park. He's been great on communication. He's been great on the sidelines. He's been great talking to the other guys out on the field. And then he's really grown as far as his play style. Last year we always thought he was solid in protection. We were kind of growing into the run game, and that has not been an issue for him whatsoever so far this year, which is a testament to him and the work he's put in. We didn't really go into the game with any sort of snap count, but obviously anytime you get a player like that back, you are going to, you're taking notes of, all right, how do we want to use him? How do we want to make sure we're being smart? And if this game becomes very a critical game at the end, we want him on the field. So how do we make sure we're getting the best version of Nico when that happens?
Will his playing time increase within the next 2 weeks heading in?
Really the same thing. we're always going to approach it as though we're going to try to be smart. But the more often you can get a really good player on the field 100% and, not winded and being able to roll, we're going to do that as often as we can.
What do you think about what John Mechie has been able to add to you all the last several weeks?
Yeah, it's been fun to watch Metch. He's gone out and he's just competed. Like, he's shut off everything else outside of football and playing fast and playing physical and playing aggressive. And, we've seen it in practice for multiple weeks before he really started showing up a lot in the games. And then when we needed him, he was there. He makes plays. And usually what happens in the NFL is when you start doing that, you get more opportunities, you get more snaps, the ball finds you more, and it's been fun to watch. It's been fun to watch him operate. It's been really fun to just see the energy he kind of infuses the whole offense with.
Hey, Bobby, kind of a two-part question. On Monday night, that first play from scrimmage, right? The Ego pass. What was the reason to go with that big? And how important was it that even though that was called back, you guys still were able to get in the end zone?
Yeah, that was a fun beginning of the game. We had talked a lot about. Everybody references Week 18 last year against Indy when we threw it deep to Nico and he caught it and he scored. And with him coming back, we really wanted to make sure we got him involved early, got him going, feeling back in the game action. Sometimes when you haven't played football in a while, like, you don't really feel like you're back in the game until you get that first hit. And we were trying to either get him untouched to the end zone or get the first hit out of the way pretty fast, And we liked what we saw on film structurally going into it, so we felt pretty good about the play. We just were a hair too deep at tackle. We needed to be a little flat, which LT knew right away. And then the cool part of it was right after it, you could see everybody get in the huddle, get together, and kind of talk, and you could tell from the demeanor that they all kind of made the decision that let's go score again, and that's really what you need. As you go through an NFL year, you're going to have obstacles, you're going to have issues, you're going to have highs and lows, and being able to fight through that stuff and still go play good football and still go execute, operate, and wind up with points is huge.
You knew this was going to come. How did it feel calling a game without a ball cap on? Is that superstitious?
I
You might have to
should
keep
have
the
known.
streak going.
It's one of those. It had change. Just had to try something different type of deal. I don't know. I mean, literally, I was there. I was like, I'm just going to do something a little different. So
it's purposeful?
I wouldn't say it's not like I put a lot of thought into this. I mean, I was in the locker room and getting ready to head out for the game, and I'm just going no hat, and we'll see. I can't believe anybody noticed. My wife didn't even notice, so I didn't think it was a big deal. Really?
Yeah, been talking.
Man, I got to actually get a haircut this time then. Dang.
Coach, can you talk about Joe Mixon and the way that he's able to bounce back? So, even if a play is a negative play, he may get a negative yard, but the next play he grinds it out and may bust it out for a 45-yard run or whatever the case may be. But his ability just to be able to snap back after negative plays.
Yeah, I think it's more so for him. It's not really a snapback for him. I would say sometimes that happens as an offense. You got to feel like you snap back, but his mindset, and I think it's shown by the fact that he's a captain for us now, like how he approaches every single down, every single practice, every single drill. Like, he does not change. He practices at a championship level. He plays at a championship level. Like, that's just his mindset. So to him, like, if he gets the ball and he's losing any yards at all, like, he wants it again because he's mad. He's very upset. If he gets 4 yards, there's times he wants it again because he's still upset. So he just has the mindset where anything I got to do to help us go win a game, I'm going to do that, and I know I'm capable of doing it really well, which is fun to be around. But I never feel like he's in a mode where I got to get back on track. That really never even enters his mind.
Blocking included, right? Because he picked up some.
Oh, he'll smack you. Oh yeah.
Thanks, Bob.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
Obviously, you probably didn't teach him these moves, but what do you think? Of
I
these
did
moves?
not. Yeah, he's a good player. He's a pretty unique rusher. Like I feel like we talked about it. He is very cerebral and intentional with how he approaches rushing and practicing it and his moves and setting things up. And so I think this is sort of like starting to show. And I do feel like he'll always say to me, like, man, let me cook. And I think the more he kind of grows into the game, and, early in that game, we were probably like kind of probably chopping it up too much, doing a little too much gaming and trying to get things going, especially, the ball was coming out quick. And we kind of second half pulled back and kind of just try to isolate him and let him get some of those ops to kind of do what he does. So, there's definitely not things that we normally teach, but when you have a special player, you let him go do special things.
He said that in the second half, Daniil said in the second half he came to y'all and just said, "F it, I'm gonna go get him."
Yeah, that's good. We says that every week.
What's been like getting Will back at practice this week and possibly having him back this week?
Yeah, obviously great player for us. Everyone knows what he's on the field. The energy is noticeable even at practice when he's out there and doing his things and stuff. So hopefully that keeps trending to having some fun on Sunday.
Man, what is the second year of Jalen Petrie looking like?
Second year?
Of you being with him?
Yeah. Oh, man, he's such a special kid. He really is. I love being around him every day and talking to him and seeing how he operates. Like he is all ball. I mean, it's so important to him. He's so passionate about it. So that's just a pleasure. And then to see him grow in the system and, just kind of grow in the role that we've tried to provide for him and make those plays that he does. Like I've said this, he just makes it easy on us, to be honest with you, because we can do so much with him and some of the, I don't want to say some of the tricks or things you would get caught in playing nickel to certain things, like to 12 or in certain roles, or there's teams that try to get, say, the nickel position into the run fit, and that doesn't bother us, if that makes sense. So just all those things, to see him grow in that role and be able to expand, what we do with him and how we utilize him. But to me, it just starts with his energy and his passion and how much he cares about the game and it cares about this team, and it's fun to be around every day for sure.
Talk about, he mentioned second year Stingley, what you're seeing from him. He quietly does these very loud things.
That's good. That's a great quote. I'll steal that from you. Yeah, quiet is obviously the starting point with Sting. I think all these guys, man, I would say this, it's any of us, you know what I mean, that, you're in a second year in a system and the techniques that we've asked you to use, it's just, you're getting those reps, he's getting more comfortable, he's understanding, I would say Sting's understanding of, where he fits in the scheme is kind of getting bigger in just sense of sometimes those corners, especially hey, Sting, go cover that guy, you're over there and do that, and him starting to understand where everyone else is in the defense and how that affects what he can do and when he can sit on a route or play this certain way, those type of things. You just see the growth from all these guys that are in the second year and really just building those reps, and now the language we can refer back to plays that are similar. Hey, Sting, remember last year when this happened, we want you to do it this way, or hey, they're going to try to do it the same way here that happened in last year's game, or whatever it is. So all that common language and the growth of the techniques and the reps and all those things is just, I feel like it's starting to show for all those guys.
The Petrie role, is it kind of just limited to him? In other words, if someone else gets hurt, you I don't want to say plug and play, but you put them in that position. Is it just kind of unique to what Jalen's skill set is?
Somewhat. I mean, I feel like I've said this, all our job is to take whoever we have available and put them in the best spots. And I'm not sure everyone can do what Petrie does, so if Petrie's shoelace broke for a play, maybe we play something differently, or, but then we'd have to figure out what that person's strength is, or how do we want to approach this thing. So I do think he's got a pretty unique skill set, and he's a unique player for us, and that helps us play the way we play.
I had some praise for Tim Settle's intelligence in the defensive tackle spot.
Sure.
What kind of goes into a defensive tackle's, mental preparation and how he can kind of use some of that?
Tim Settle. Yeah, I don't know if you guys spend a lot of time with him. I feel like his personality belies his intelligence sometimes. You know what I mean? You have an impression of him, and he's not. And you don't think of D tackles like that often, you know what I mean? But just his awareness of like the blocks he's getting and the protections. And I mean, we do a lot, like, especially, I feel like we talked maybe last week about, people trying to take Daniil away and the protections and stuff. And so, like, you have to have an understanding of, hey, if they're sliding this way, we have to do this, or we have to counter this, or why we're calling this pressure because we're trying to attack this front or put you in this position. And I would say he's probably one of our better guys at understanding all those little nuances of what we're trying to get done in the game plan. Sometimes, like, you don't want those guys to – sometimes you don't want your D tackles to think too much. But Tim's just shown a really good job of being able to grasp sort of big picture stuff, which sort of then can translate into you doing more with him, just putting him in those spots because he knows why you're doing it. If that makes sense. You know what I mean? Hey, we're going to overload you here because of this. We're anticipating this block. Now you rush this way and it'll be successful. You know what I mean? And so I think some guys you can't necessarily talk to like that. But Tim has just shown an ability to really grasp some of those big picture understandings. And to me, that's showing in like his success and his production in the system because he's taking some of the big picture stuff and understanding, sort of playing more anticipatory like defense for him.
When you see Tim doing what he's doing, he said it was just about opportunity, and he's having a career year, but he said that's always been the type of player he's been. Is there ever like a pleasant surprise, like where maybe you look at tape and the guy's not necessarily showing something, but then you get him in front of you and you're like, oh, this guy is even better than we thought he would be?
I would say, I mean, I'm sure that happens. I would say with Tim, like, that was part of our evaluation process. Like, again, when we evaluate for this front, we don't, not everyone plays the style that we play. So when you're watching tape of free agents or college players, like, you're trying to sort of project that and piece through and say, okay, if, is this guy capable of playing in our system and what does that look like? And so I think he was a guy that the organization identified early to say, hey, man, like, he's got some skills that translate if we ask him to do it. I would say Mario is a very similar, you know what I mean? Like, that we look at guys and say, hey, I think this translates to what we do, and that there's maybe putting them in the system maybe boosts some of the success and lets him play a little bit more freely or play up to his maybe talent level or skill level. So I think that's part of our process when we evaluate those guys for sure.
Speaking of style of play, when you go back and you look at the Derek Barnett touchdown play,
Sure.
Starting from him getting the strip sack, and then the Cowboys offensive lineman getting the ball back, but then Jalen Petrie causing the fumble
Sure.
again. Is that just the type of style of play that you all want? And can you talk about the amount of turnovers that you all have had in the last 6 games?
It's like 6 questions in there. Sorry.
I just added
Yeah, no, Barnett, like, yeah, I mean, I would say it started like, our foundational of our defense is disrupting the quarterback, right? And obviously start with Derek getting a great get off, like, really jumped out and really cut the edge. Like, it was a great rush, man. I mean, he really sharpened the edge, and so then, like, and then I would say part number 2 is attacking the ball and getting the ball out. So they count that as 2 forced fumbles. I don't know how that happens. They don't, just 1? Man, all right. Well, anyways, so I mean, like, to attack the ball for him to get the sack strip, you know what I mean? And then, I mean, again, going back to the same question about Petrie, like, just the way he plays, and he's always flying around and trying to be violent and physical, and then just smack that ball out. And then, again, part of the way we preach our front is running to the ball and getting 11 hats to the ball and chasing and playing at full tilt. So then Derek to get up off the ground, off the sack strip, and to keep going and follow the ball before it popped out the second time, you know what I mean, and get on it. So we'd like a little bit more ball security as he's getting in the end zone there with the one hand. But, yeah, I would say that encapsulates a lot of how we like to play.
Petrie, the pop that he has, the way he's able to kind of, as a smaller guy,
He is.
run through people,
Yeah.
kind of uncoil and have a lot of shoulder pop. Do you teach that, or is it just something innate for someone like him? And why do you think he's able to hit so hard?
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of, like, I mean, I would say that's just him to some extent. I mean, he's got some guys just have that ability to uncoil, like a little 6-inch punch that he's got. You said he's small. I didn't say he's small, but like for a DB, like, he's got ability to sort of snap his hips, and that's where a lot of that strike comes from. He can really uncoil. There's like an explosiveness to him. But I would say, again, it goes back to his mindset, and just like there's not a lot of guys that are willing to put your face on people like he is, and so he embraces that opportunity. Sure. All right. Yep.
I like that. Yeah, that's very authentic. That's very real. So, yeah. Hi, everybody. Okay, good to be home, and excited for the ability for us to stack as we get towards the crescendo of the season where you want to be. So, want our unit to grow weekly. So, just where are we? Taking self-inventory. Good net coverage. Tommy's punting the ball. Gunners are covering it, forcing fair catches. Got to get back to making sure that every time we step on, you're executing with precision, fielding the ball. We talked about that going into last week and how Aubrey hits his kickoffs. So now same thing. We're going to, it's kind of like the old rule of thumb, like if you get beat on something, you're going to see that for 3 weeks in a row coming up. So any little mistake that we have to clean up, we have to make sure that we do that ourselves and focus on ourselves here coming into this divisional game. So got to stop a couple of unique gunners, depending on who plays for Tennessee. Kid from Youngstown State, which is cool for a Penguin to get out there, and he's playing gunner for him. Oliver, Justin Hardy, he's been up there on the roster. Trey Avery, personal protector. Mike, 44 Mike, he's done a great job of becoming a third gunner. And the way they pressure over the wings on their punt team with long linebackers in their front seven of players provides a unique problem for us. So, man, we got to capitalize on a moment in this game that comes our way, and we got to be ready to answer the bell and excited for a divisional game. Take your questions.
Looking back to Monday, what was the key to being able to thwart that fake punt so effectively?
Yeah, the tape going into it, they had it up versus Philly, and you see it, and you see Brian Anger get a signal from the personal protector, and you see Anger lift his hat. And then it gets logged up, and he quickly punts the ball. And it was so minute, and we caught it. And so that carried over, and then our look dictated that same fake to be called for them and fell into our lap. That doesn't matter, though. It's the players, everybody was prepared, and it kind of executed, and it looks good and everything. But how does that work, whether you're executing a fake or stopping something, a key single block like your course? The same thing for John to pop off the ball, show good rush demeanor, pop off the ball, and then execute the hit was everything. So huge moment. It's essentially a turnover and a takeaway for us, and leads us into, the 36-yard line going in. So we'll take that all day. It's an exciting moment.
What specifically got you so fired, with your reaction? Was it seeing the preparation? Was it seeing Metch make the play the way he did with a little violent intent? What? Yeah,
all three. Great question, and all three. I think the special teams is the game within the game, and you prepare for all of these unique circumstances. And then they never come up. We've called 22 fakes over the last 7 minutes, and then first down, or you call a return that's this is the return, and they bang it out of the back of the end zone on a touchback. So all these things that you prepare for, and that the fans don't see, and then finally one comes your way, and it's perfect, and it's just like flushing a perfect hit, and it's going 500 over deep center, and you're like, man, it's a bat flip moment. So exciting, and I think we all live for those big moments. And honestly, stopping a fake on a special teams play is just as big as a punt return for a touchdown. It is a monster play. So couldn't be happier for that moment for the Texans and Mechie, and take it over and go in the other direction.
When you're watching that play, though, are you saying to yourself, you're watching it unfold, you're watching it happen, you're watching stop, and you're saying these guys really are paying attention to the details and practicing in film?
Yeah, and I say this all the time. Okay, it's a player game, and they're the ones out there doing it. There are also things that they do on their own that outplays the coaching, and that's when you got a good darn special teams unit. You got guys that say, hey, Frank, here's what they're doing. The next time they make just a tweak of an adjustment, that's when you're really growing. And that's what I meant when the opening statement saying, hey, this is the time. We really got to find a way to just take another step forward. That was a rare occurrence, and we capitalized on it. We need to do that with everything. And taking those notes, taking that from the walkthrough, we gave a similar look in the walkthrough on a Thursday, and it executes on Monday night. So yeah, it's when it hits the rubber hits the pavement on your preparation to your execution, it's exciting.
Getting fired up. There was a little bit of trippiness, post play on a couple plays.
Oh yeah.
But obviously, you want to play aggressive on special teams, but what's kind of that fine line of not being too aggressive and drawing a penalty or anything like that?
Yeah. Never at the detriment of the football team, because that does not matter. And we want to it is a violent physical game. I want all of our players playing clean. If somebody else decides to walk on your side of the 40-yard line into your kickoff huddle, hopefully you stand up for yourself and your teammates in the right way. And no dirty players. I don't want to coach dirty players. I don't want to coach, but aggressive is the great word, and we want to be physical. And if somebody, there's nothing better in basketball. It was actually the ladies basketball coach in high school, but his brother was my head football coach. So not Mike Pavlansky, but Pat Pavlansky, if he's listening. There's nothing better to get somebody back than a hard box out in the middle of the play when it's legal, So you really just put your full weight of your body into somebody, and that's the kind of stuff you want.
It seems like Tennessee's one of the teams more likely to return things, both punts and kickoffs. Do you sort of relish that, and that, hey, we got a few more opportunities this week, or how do you kind of prepare for a team that's more adept?
Yeah, everybody's got their own kind of metrics and the way that they want to play things, and they have a really good returner, the Tulane kid, Jackson, and I think he's got great vision. Overall, his skill set is very, very fine-tuned and honed in, especially for a rookie. It hasn't necessarily resulted in explosive returns for them. Now they've gone up against some really good coverages, etc. But they return the ball regularly. That's part of their formula, as it seems. It doesn't mean that's how it'll be on Sunday. So we're preparing for everything. But they do prepare to do that quite often. And same for us, depending on the types of kicks and punts that they're giving us. So every week is different. We play against Minnesota. They rush every darn play. Not as much of a built-for return team, so on and so forth. So, our calls will be tailored to who our matchup is and what we think we're getting, and then react and respond to it as the game's going on.
Coach, you are a huge energy guy. What did it feel like having that hometown feel up at AT&T Stadium with the fans?
Man, that was sweet. That's how it needs to be every single place we go. I mean, when it's happened on occasion, we're not going to shy away from that. When people walk into here and you see the opposing colors in our stands, winning cures all, and the more you win, the more you're going to get that. So let's keep doing that. Okay? Good to see you guys.